this afternoon we are going to spend some time with gases. Now, not a lot of schools do gases anymore. It is a grade 11 topic, but it is not part of the grade 12 topics that's examined. But it's an extremely important topic. Okay, extremely important. Right, so you learn a lot from this. So let's enjoy this. But remember, you need to ask me questions. Okay, right. So the first thing that we need to do is we need to know about the kinetic molecular theory. Okay, you need to know about, show me all about the kinetic molecular theory. Okay, we also call it KMT, the kinetic molecular theory. Right, so this has been done in grade 8 and 9 to a smaller extent. So let's check. Particles are far apart. Now, this is all for gases. This is focusing on gases. Okay. Particles are far apart and there are large spaces between them. You will remember for a liquid and for a solid, this is less. And then here for a solid, they are very close and the spaces are very small. Okay, so they are closer here. Let me rather say closer. And this is in the closest. Okay, so the particles move with Brownian motion, right? So that is a fast random motion. So it goes chick, 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 all over the place. Okay, that is fast Brownian motion. We'll look at some examples just now. So with a liquid, it's slower. And with a solid, it is only vibrating, if you remember. Okay, right. So we are focusing on the gases, but I'm just reminding you. Gases undergo diffusion. So that means the particles spread out to fill the container. All right. So this happens for a liquid as well, but slower. But it doesn't happen for a solid because the particles are not moving around physically. They are literally just vibrating in place. Okay, and then the forces between the particles are negligibly small. So for a liquid, it is stronger. Okay, and then for a solid, it is very strong. Okay, very strong. Right, Mateko, it seems as if it's just you and me that's left, so you can feel free to communicate at any time. Okay. All right, so then it says the particles collide elastically. We'll speak about that just now with other particles and the walls of a container. So yes, it happens with a liquid as well, but there are less collisions. And then for a solid, there are no collisions. Okay, so what does elastically means? It means that during the collision, the kinetic energy is for the kinetic energy is it doesn't, you don't lose the kinetic energy. Okay, you get the kinetic energy stays the same. Yeah, so that's what I want to say. The kinetic energy stays the same. Okay, I'm listening, Mateko.
Ma'am, does the particles only move elastically with gases?
Yeah, they don't move elastic, they collide elastically. And yes, it's a specific, it's a special assumption we make for gases.
Okay, thank you, ma'am.
Okay, all right. So then if we now continue to the next one, it tells us there are basically 3 measurements, but there's another one, there's a 4th one. So I'm going to add the 4th one. We measure the temperature. All right, so remember, we have 2 things. We have macroscopic and we have microscopic, or microscopic yeah, measurements. This is what I'm looking for. Microscopic measurements for the particles. Okay, so macroscopic is that we are able to measure. Okay, microscopic, we are not able to measure, not measurable. Okay, well, not easily, let me say it that way, measurable. So what do we mean? Temperature is macroscopic. We use a thermometer, okay, a thermometer to measure that. Now, temperature is a measure of the average kinetic energy of the particles. Now, it is practically impossible to measure the average kinetic energy. All right, meaning that I have to count every particle, have to measure the velocity of every particle, and then calculate the average kinetic energy, all while they are moving around the whole time, not sitting still. So this is a microscopic thing. So what we do is we don't measure the microscopic measurements. We use the macroscopic to make calculated conclusions, to draw calculated conclusions from the macroscopic about the microscopic. So volume is the space that the container is, that the gas is filling. Okay, so volume is the space. So let me say, if I have a balloon, right, let's say this is my balloon, right? And I have inside this balloon, I have particles. I'm just drawing a few. Then the volume, the big volume, the pink, this volume of the balloon is macroscopic, but it is a measurement of the spaces in between the particles. So macroscopic, it tells me about the spaces in between the particles. Pressure is then pressure is also macroscopic, and it is a measure of the collisions of the particles with the container walls. Okay, so the collisions is then my microscopic measurement. Okay, all right, so I'll show you some just now. In order to calculate, in order to study gases, we need to set standard values. You know what we learned in grade, well, even in primary school, we said that if the temperature increases of anything, the volume will also increase. Okay, so the temperature determines the volume, right? And also, if the temperature, here we said, if the temperature increases, the energy, the average kinetic energy increases. If that increases, it literally means there will be more collisions. So we need to state a standard value for pressure and temperature at which other experiments can be done. So therefore, we state the standard temperature as 0 degrees Celsius and the standard pressure as this. So this means that if you do experiment in the, well, let's say in Iceland, or you do an experiment in the Kalahari, which is a desert, or you do the experiment here in South Africa, which is in Joburg, which is easy to do, then what will happen is everybody will get different values because the external temperature is not the same. So therefore, we chose this as a standard value at which you can do the calculation. Okay, a standard value at which you can do the calculations. All right. Okay, so we set the standard, we call it the STP values, standard temperature and pressure. This will be given on your info sheet. It is available, you do not need to go and look for it. Okay, which values are on your information sheet? this value and this value. So you must make sure that you can do the conversions. Okay, right. Are you okay for now? Can I continue? Right. Kahu, thank you, Matseko. Kahu, do I express it? Please unmute and tell me how do I explain, how do I pronounce your name? Is it Kahu?
Kaho.
Say Kaho. Did I say it correctly?
Kaho.
Okay. Kaho. Okay. I'll try. I'll try my best. Right. It's just you and Matseko, so please feel free to unmute and talk to me throughout the whole session. Okay. All right. Okay. So we are going to look, before we are going to look at ideal gases. But before we look at the ideal gases, I want to take this away and just show you. Let me see. Can you see my special place? Okay. Right. So this is just an app. Thank you. This is just an app that we can use to look at gases. So if I've got this as my volume, I can increase or decrease the volume. Okay. So let's start with a big volume. All right. Kahu, you can unmute again, just so that we don't get other noises. Okay. Mute again. Okay. Thank you. Right. So this I can change the volume. Here I can change the temperature. Okay. And then I can have particles. If I add particles, you can now see I can decide how many particles I add. Now, here you can see the random motion. There's no specific direction they are moving in. You can see the random motion. The random motion is then if I increase the temperature, can you see here's the temperature value? If I increase the temperature, okay, let's double the temperature. Can you see what happened? They are moving much faster. Okay, the particles are moving much, much, much faster. All right, so now if I decrease the temperature back to where I wanted it, okay, so let me make it cooler again, up to 300. Okay, I wanted it 300. Let's go there. 250 is fine. Now I'm going to say we're going to keep the temperature constant. Now watch what happens to the spaces between the particles. Now first, watch what happens to the pressure if I decrease the volume. If I decrease the volume, so what happened? The pressure increased. So if the volume decreases, the pressure increases. Why does that happen? Can you see the spaces? I'm going to move it out again. See, the spaces is big with a big volume. Now, if I decrease this, there are less space, so they've got more collisions. More collisions relates to more pressure. Okay, so if I have a big volume, I've got less collisions and I've got less pressure. Now I'm going to change it. I'm going to keep the pressure constant. Okay, but I'm going to increase the temperature. Okay, in order for the, oh, sorry, not that one. I'm going to keep the pressure constant, so I'm going to decrease this. Okay, for the same pressure, keeping the pressure of the volume. Okay, now I can do that. Okay, so if I now increase the temperature, right, so the particles are moving faster. Can you see the pressure increased? Because when they're moving faster, let's go to the cooler temperature again. Okay, when they go, then the pressure decreases, okay, as it cools down. Why? Because what happens is, okay, this is enough for now. We'll come back to that again. So what happens is, as you change one of these three, the others will also be influenced. Okay, and that's what gases are all about. What I need to say, there's a fourth thing that needs to be kept constant, and that is the number of mole, or let me rather write it out, the mole, and the mole is a measure of the number of particles, okay, as well as the mass of the gas. Okay, so this must also be kept constant. You can see if I reset this, I'm just going to reset, let me just go here, reset this. Okay, now I'm going to, if I put the particles, I'm going to put, now I put fat blue particles. Can you see fat blue particles move slower? Because when they've got a bigger mass, to have the same kinetic energy, they have to move slower. Okay, so the fact, let me put some red particles. You can see the small red particles. Oh, they are like, kindergarten kids. Okay, those little ones. Okay, but what happens if I open the container? If I lose some of the particles, can you see the pressure drops? Okay, the pressure drops, the temperature drops, everything is affected. Okay, everything is affected if I lose some of my particles. Okay, right, so now we're going to the ideal gases. Now, what is an ideal gas? Okay, an ideal gas is a theoretical gas. All right, it's a theoretical gas that obey the gas laws. They obey the gas laws. Okay, under all conditions. Doesn't matter what the temperature, the pressure, the volume, whatever. They obey the gas laws. All conditions of temperature and pressure. Now, there are 4 of these. 2 of them are the same as for normal gases. Now, I need to say this clearly. A theoretical gas does not exist, right? It does not exist. It is a gas that we created in our minds on paper in order to measure other gases against. Let me know, does either of you have do art? Do either of you do art? No, you don't do art. No, thank you, Mateko. Kahu, give me a red cross or a green tick if you do art. Okay, no, you don't do art, no problem. But in art, even if you don't know that, they teach you that to have a perfect face, you have to have specific ratios in your face to have the perfect beauty. Now, nobody has the perfect ratio. Okay, like my left eye is smaller than my right eye. Now it's going to bother you the whole time. Okay, that's the evil me. Okay, so what happens in the perfect face, it is perfect. So what they do is they define what a perfect face is in art. And then they measure against that in order to see how perfect it is or not. So it's not something that exists. It's something that you use to measure against. Okay? It is something that you measure against. All right. So if I continue and we look at, let me just get there. Then it says, the first thing, all the particles of a gas are identical. Right. Now, this is something we were taught from grade 8. There's nothing new here. If I look at a specific element, all the particles are identical. Okay. All the particles are identical. Now, the next one. The volume of the gas is due to the motion of the particles, as the particles have no volume themselves. Now, this is very, very important. What they're saying is that we define the particles as very, very small. So small that it has no volume. Okay, that is a definition that we do. We make them have no volume. That is why there isn't something like a theoretical ideal gas. How do you exist if you don't have volume? This is only created to measure other gases against. Okay, right. So the particles, right, the particles are very small. So now, if I look at my balloon again, there's my balloon. Okay. Right. Then if I have a real gas, then this real gas, the particles will move around all over the place. Okay. The space in which it moves, okay, the space in which it moves, only the space, colored, 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 the space in which it moves, that is the volume of the gas. It's where it is allowed to move. Now, it doesn't matter whether the particles have volume or not. The space where it moves, that is the volume of the gas. Okay? The space, that is the volume of the gas. So the intermolecular force, okay? Unam, you back. Welcome back. Okay. The intermolecular forces between the gas particles are negligible. Okay. Now, that is negligible forces, okay, is not something that really happens. Okay. Negligible forces, you cannot have no forces. Just the fact that there are positive and negative particles, protons and electrons in that gas, tells us there has to be at least attractive and repulsive forces. Okay, but now these are the two that is very, very important. Okay, we'll talk about that just now. The other thing is that they say all collisions are perfectly elastic. Now, this literally means that the kinetic energy during collisions, right? We said it earlier, during collisions stays the same, right? Therefore, it's conserved, right? Therefore, it is conserved. All right, so this is the same for an ideal gas and for a real gas. This is only for an ideal gas. This is only for an ideal gas, and this is for an ideal gas and for a real gas. Are we okay with this? So, if we have anything that differs between the two, if I compare the real gas and the ideal gas, the reason why they differ will be because of these two conditions. Okay, right, will be because of these two. And remember, there isn't such a thing as an ideal gas. Okay, so we have deviations. Obviously, that's why we needed the ideal gas. All right, so where are the deviations found? The first important deviation is found at low temperature. So if I look at this side I have low, and this side I have high temperature. So in this area of the graph, let me just, if I can color it in this area of the graph, I have low temperature. So if there's any deviations, it will be somewhere in this area. Now they are telling us that the real gas, this is my real gas, and this solid line is my ideal gas. Now remember, we said an ideal gas conforms to all the gas laws. So that literally means that it literally means that if we have that the volume is directly proportional to the temperature, it will be a straight line through. So for the ideal gas, it will be a straight line through the origin. Straight line through the origin. Okay. Now, the thing is, the ideal gas does that. But can you see the real gas doesn't do it? Here it conforms. In this area, it's fine. In this area, it's not so fine. So what happens? It says, gas particles move much slower. Remember, because temperature is a measure of the average kinetic energy. So if I have a low temperature, they are slow. Okay. Decreasing the number of collisions between the particles. All right. So because they are moving slower, we saw that on the app. Okay. We saw that on the app. Right. Let me show you again. Okay. I'm going to add, let me just go there. I'm going to add orange particles. Okay. Now, if they are cooling down, let me cool it down, cooling it down. Okay, cooling it down, cooling it down. Can you see how slow they are becoming? All slow, all slow. Now, can you see there are very few collisions? You can actually sort of count the collisions if you go slow. Okay, I can make it even cooler, right? Even more. Go down, go down, go down, go down. Right. Can you see how slow they are? Yes, you can see how slow they are. And they are not even, some of them are colliding, but very few are colliding. Can you also see that some of them are moving very slow and some of them are moving a little bit faster? That's why we need to work with the average kinetic energy. If I increase the temperature again, okay, they will start moving faster again. Come. Quicker, 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 go warm, go warm. There you go. Okay. And the warmer it is, the faster they move, the more collisions they have. Okay. All right. So let me take this away again. Right. So it says, decreasing the number of collisions and the container, pressure of the gas is then lower than expected. Okay, because what happens is if we decrease the number of collisions, then we have less collisions and the pressure is lower than expected. Now, this is not on this graph. We'll look at that graph just now. Okay, now the attractive forces for a real gas. So this is for a real gas. This is for a real gas. Are stronger due to the particles being closer together. So if the particles are this far away and the forces are not easily, well, they won't easily pull them together. But if they are going very slow and they come close to each other, those intermolecular forces, which we did yesterday, will go and they will actually come so close together that the gas are more likely be a liquid. So it will liquefy, okay? All right, so what will happen is it will be, so the volume will then be greater than expected. Okay, so what will happen is, because I have a minimum volume that will happen here, it won't go past that. Now, I want you to imagine, I just want to clear all this. Okay, I want you to look at these. I'm going to put a few of these particles, not a lot of them. I'm going to put a few of these particles. Now, if I close this container, now it can only go up to a certain point. Okay, but now if you imagine that these particles here, these particles over here, are so small, right, that, let me take them away. Let me go with a few red ones. Okay, just a few red ones. Imagine that they are so small that the red is not existent. They are just like ghosts. That is what an ideal gas is. Then by inference, I can move this right up to the other wall and squash them into nothingness, because then my volume can become 0. Now it is, I cannot make my total volume 0 because these particles are actually in the way. Okay, the physically red and orange particles are in the way. Okay, right, so this means that I can only go, just like in the app, I can only go to a certain minimum volume. The real gas cannot go smaller than that value, but the ideal gas can. Okay, at this stage, are we okay? All right, give me a green tick. Yes, thank you, Mateko, or a red cross. Or you can unmute, thank you, Kaho. You can also unmute and talk to me if you don't understand. Okay, right, so you can also, the previous one, remember, was at low temperatures. Now at high pressure. All right, so what will happen again? If I look at this, here is low, so the high pressure area is in this area. So in this area, I will have deviations. And what will happen is, if I do high pressure, literally I am pushing, okay? If I increase the pressure, I need to keep this constant, okay? If I increase the pressure, oh, that's not what I want, okay? If I increase the pressure, let me do this, okay? Right. If I increase the pressure, then what will happen is that the volume will be greater than what I think it is. So see, if I open this up, the particles have got less interference with each other. Okay, so let me say this. The volume of the gas particles become significant in relation to the container. So the particles itself will be in the way. Therefore, I still have like a minimum value for the volume. I can't go less than that. The ideal gas can go less than that. This is the ideal gas. But the real gas will stop at that point. It can't go smaller than that. Okay. And the intermolecular forces will increase because they are now closer to each other. Remember, if we press them together, they may, we decrease the spaces between the particles. Therefore, they will liquefy, like I said, okay? And then the volume is larger, right, than expected. All right, so what will happen is the volume will be higher up, larger than the ideal gas. All right. In the exams, they will only ask the two graphs. Okay, so you need to be able to just give the two graphs. Okay, now we're looking at Boyle's law. Now remember, we said that we had 1, P, V, T, and N. We had these four things that can change, that are variables for gases. Now, in any experiment, we have one independent, one dependent, and all the rest must be controlled variables. Okay, so if we look at this one, okay, what does it mean? It means Boyle's law gives me a law, right, that will compare the pressure and the volume. Now, if we're looking at the pressure and the volume, it literally means that the temperature and the number of moles will be controlled. So it says that the pressure and the volume is inversely proportional. So the volume is inversely proportional to the pressure of the gas. You said, we saw that, right? As I decrease the volume, the pressure increased. Or the other way around, as I increase the volume, the pressure decreases. What is important? The temperature and the number of moles must be controlled. Okay, that is why if you count here, you will find 1, 2, 3, 4, the same as all ever. Now, this is just a different picture showing exactly what I did with the other thing. If I have somebody without a lot of weight sitting on top of this container, it doesn't press hard. There's a small, so here I've got small pressure, but I've got a big volume. Right, here I've got a increased pressure because this guy has got a little bit more weight. Therefore, we have decreased volume. And now if I have a high pressure, I have a very small volume. Can you see what inversely proportional means? This law is named Boyle's law. Okay, this law is called Boyle's law. Right, so it says the temperature remains constant. Therefore, the average kinetic energy is constant. If the volume decreases, the collisions will increase, and therefore the pressure will increase. I'll show you again quickly. We just take away all that. Okay. If I have a big volume, I keep the temperature constant. Okay, not that. Let me add particles first. Okay, then we keep the temperature constant, so the temperature can't change. Right, it literally means, let me just stabilize, it must just stabilize. Okay. So the pressure is stabilizing at whatever, we'll see now. Let's say around about 9 atmospheres. Okay, you can have it in kPa, so it will be right about 900 kilopascals. As I decrease the volume, see what happened to the pressure. The pressure increased because there's a lot more collisions between the particles. Okay. Right, but what is important is that the temperature must stay the same. Okay, these are the graphs for Boyle's law. If you are writing about the graphs for Boyle's law, this is very, very important. Okay, so the graph for Boyle's law, because it's inversely proportional, right? It literally means that it is like a hyperbola. Okay, We do not use the negative part of the hyperbola, because how do you have less volume than nothing? In physics, we don't have negative values here. Okay, right. So what will happen is I will have this hyperbola, but for a high temperature, it will be further away. And for a low temperature, it will be closer to the axis. Okay. Now there's a cool trick, and this is very, very important. If I have an inversely proportionality, so the volume is inversely proportional to the pressure, we can write it as 1 over P, proportional to 1 over P. If I take this x-axis and I change it to 1 over P, all right, what will happen is this hyperbola will change into a graph, straight line through the origin. Okay, it will change into a graph, which is a straight line, where the higher temperature is at the top and the lower temperature has got a smaller gradient. Okay, big gradient for high temperature, small gradient for low temperature. Right. And because it's inversely proportional, it literally means that the product of P and V is constant. All right. The product, this is also for a hyperbola. The hyperbola says that xy is equal to a constant, or you can say y is equal to k over x, depending, okay, where k is your constant, right? So that means that if I multiply my volume and my pressure, right, which is my x and y axis, I get a constant value. Low temperature at the bottom, high temperature at the top. All right. So if I continue to examples of calculations now, if P, let me go back here. If I have that P1V1 is constant, okay, if I have that it is constant, right, so what you need to understand is at this point, doesn't matter which pressure and which volume I measure. If this is my P1 and my V1, and this is P2 and V2, doesn't matter at which point, I will get the same constant value. Okay, so if I, let me just go to the next one again. So the formula for Boyle's law is that the pressure times the volume at the product of the pressure and the volume at any point will be equal to the pressure to the volume at any other point. So this means that if I have 1,000, if I have 1,000 centimeters cubed, this is one of my volumes, okay, at a pressure, and this is one of my pressures. So these two go together. Doesn't matter which ones you call one and which ones you call two, as long as the two that fit together has got the same number. So if the pressure changes to this will be my second pressure. Okay, calculate the new volume, asking for the new volume. So this one is my first volume with my first pressure. They go together. This one is my pressure here, and this goes together with the volume. Okay, this gives, if I calculate divide by 100 on both sides, I get 600. And this is fine to us, because if the pressure increased, the pressure increased from 60 to 100, then the volume decreased from, the new volume is 60, the volume decreased from 600,000 to 600. Okay, Are you okay with this calculation? Give me ticks or crosses. Thank you, Mateko. Thank you, Kaho. Right, Unam, I understand. Okay, all right. So now, gas pressure. I spoke about this. I'm telling you again, it's just we already did this. Okay. The pressure of the gas is caused by the collisions of the gas particles with the wall of the container. So increasing the container size, have more room to do their thing without hitting the walls. So it decreases the pressure. Decreasing the container size increases the pressure. Okay, I showed you that earlier, so we're not going to do that again. Okay, now we're going for Charles's law. All right, now what does Charles's law say? So again, if we remember, we've got P, we've got V, we've got the temperature and the number of mole available. Now, Charles's law has got it's an experiment all about the volume and the temperature. Therefore, the pressure and the mole should be controlled. Okay, so if I have volume and temperature in degrees Celsius, you will find that volume is, oh, now we have to be careful, directly proportional to temperature. If it is measured temperature in Kelvin. If the temperature is measured in Kelvin. Now, what does directly proportional mean? Directly proportional literally means it is a straight line, and this is very important, a straight line through the origin. Now, this is obviously not through the origin. Therefore, they had to go and do stuff. Okay, so the first thing that they did is they extrapolated the graph. So what happened is they had measurements only for this. This was real measurements. Okay, these are not real. It's very difficult to measure stuff at negative 200 degrees Celsius. Yeah, very difficult. So what they did is when they extrapolated this, they found that it always intersected the y-intercept. The x-intercept was always at negative 273 degrees Celsius. So they called this the absolute zero value, and they named it 0 Kelvin. So if I redraw this graph, but I do the temperature in Kelvin, then it will actually go through the origin if it is in Kelvin, because now I work with a 0 at negative 273 degrees Celsius. Okay, so again, if I directly proportional, if the temperature is high, the volume is big. If the temperature is low, the volume is small.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm listening to you.
Could you explain again what extrapolated means?
Okay, I'll explain again what extrapolated means. Extrapolated literally just means that, we had measurements here, okay? And then we took our ruler, okay? We took our ruler and we draw a straight line, and we usually will draw the straight line up to this point because this is where we have measurements. Extrapolate means that if I've got a straight line, I can lengthen it as if I have measurements. Can you see? So I didn't have these measurements. I just drew the line by lengthening the line, the original line, to that point. Okay, is that better?
Yes, ma'am.
Or must I say it again in a different way?
No, ma'am, I understand. Thank you.
Okay, all right. All right, so therefore, this they call the absolute 0 point. Oh, I must still go and get my right line. This they call absolute 0 because the temperature cannot be less than 0 Kelvin. Okay, temperature, therefore, in order to change from Kelvin to degrees Celsius, to get from degrees Celsius to Kelvin, I need to add 273, and then I get Kelvin. If I go from Kelvin, I need to subtract the 273 to get the degrees Celsius. Okay, now you don't need to remember this value because this value, this 273, is also on your info sheet at the standard temperature and pressure. Okay, just the value, because 0 degrees Celsius is standard 0 degrees Celsius is the standard pressure, right? And that is 273 Kelvin. So this is the same as 273 Kelvin. Okay, all right, so having said that, right, now we can move on. Okay, so I've actually said all of this. So let's just recap. Okay, just to get the recapping. Ah, that's not a good color. Okay, this I said. Okay, always in Kelvin. Okay, always extremely important. Says 0 Kelvin is the theoretical minimum temperature. Now, as in anything in science, until proven different. At this stage, this is our reality. Okay, right. So the volume becomes 0 at this point, okay, for an ideal gas. Real gases deviate. Right. So remember, a real gas has got a minimum volume. It cannot go below this value. So this is my minimum value. So the real gas will go grr, 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 and yeah, it will stop. It won't go below this minimum value. Okay. All right. That is for a real gas. Okay. And then I told you in Kelvin, it goes through the origin. And these dotted lines is where we extrapolate it. It's the same as extending the graph. So if you don't remember the word extrapolate, you can use the word extend. Okay. Righto. So if we continue. Okay. In terms of just this example, and then we'll go for a small short break. A certain sample of gas has a volume of 125 centimeter cube at standard pressure and temperature. Now, this is very important. This is the volume. Okay, let me just get there. This is the volume. This is fine. Standard temperature is undercover given as 273 Kelvin. It is on the info sheet. You need to go and find it there and use it. The pressure is 1,013 times 10 to the power of 5 Pascal. It is given on the info sheet. You need to go find it there. If the pressure remains constant, so now I know pressure remains constant, this is Charles's law. And Charles's law, we use this formula. The temperature of the gas increases to 25. So let us go here. This is my original volume and my original temperature. This is my second temperature. So they want the second volume. Substituting this 125, this 273 from the info sheet, this 298, where do I get this 298? I must take the 25 degrees Celsius and add 273 to get Kelvin. Okay, so this is important to do the Kelvin calculation. Then I can calculate my new volume. Since I know it's directly proportional, it makes sense because at a higher temperature, the volume has increased. Okay, you okay with this specific example? Show me. Thank you. Good. And you okay? Right. So, Gay-Lussac's law. Now, remember, of the four things that we could have, okay, we had P, V, T, and N. We had P and V. This gave us Boyle's law. We had V and T. This gave us Charles's law. Okay, now we're going to P and T because that's what's left over. P and T together. This gives me Gay-Lussac's law. I'm not going to write it out. You have to. Okay, so in the same manner, it tells us that P1 over T1 is equal to P2 over T2. Okay, so if I continue with this, let's look at the example. Again, if I draw a graph, because it's directly proportional, this must be careful. It's not a capital O. That's not what I wanted. It's not a capital P. Okay. This is not a capital P. It is a small letter P. Okay. A capital P is power. We're not busy with power now. We're busy with pressure. So the pressure and the temperature, if the pressure increases, the temperature increases. And it goes through the origin. If you do this graph in Kelvin, then it is directly proportional. Okay, then it is directly proportional. Okay, so this is Gay-Lussac's law, right? It tells us if the pressure, half a man, then I get half a candle, okay? So that's half a temperature. If I get one full man pressure, I get a full candle temperature. If I get two men pressure, I get two candle pressure. It's just a simple thing to make you help remember. Okay, right. So in order to do the calculation, it says that the pressure of the gas, so this is my first temperature, and we know we've got a problem with the degrees Celsius. Original had a pressure. This is my original pressure. These two go together. This is my second temperature. Okay, so they need the second, calculate the second pressure. So substituting 200, where do we get the 373? Tell me, where do I get the 373? How did we get that? You can unmute and tell me. Yes, tell me.
Maybe the 100 degrees plus the 273.
That's 100%, yes. So in order to get 273, we take the degrees Celsius, okay, and we add 273, okay, and then we get the total temperature. Oh, this is the second goes together. I read this not the same way. So this one, we did the same. We did the 25 plus the 273, and then we get 298 Kelvin. This both in Kelvin. Okay, cross multiply. Okay, when you do this, I need to show you just something. You're going to cross multiply. Do yourself a favor. Of the two, always choose the one with the unknown to multiply first. Because if you do that, you get 373P2, and then the unknown is automatically on the left-hand side, which makes it a little bit easier. Was like P1V1 is equal to P2V2 with temperature constant. Okay. Then we had Charles's law. Okay. And that one said V1 over T1. Okay. V1 over T1 is equal to V2 over T2. And that one had pressure constant. Okay. And then Gay-Lussac's law said that P1 over T1 is equal to P2 over T2, and that one had volume constant. Now, if I combine these three, you get this formula. This formula is the one given to you on the info sheet. Okay, this one will be given to you. So how do you do it? It's actually very, very easy. If you look at this, it tells us that for Boyle's law, we know that temperature is constant. The second temperature is constant, you delete it from the formula. And what you end up is you end up with Boyle's law. Okay? If you go to, let me do this one. If you go to Charles's law, pressure is constant. If you know the pressure is constant, you delete the pressure, and you end up with Charles's law. Can you see? Right. And the same will happen with at the next one, where we have, oh dear, I just keep on pressing the wrong button there. Volume constant, so the volume will be eliminated, and I end up with Gay-Lussac's law. Okay, so these three, this formula is a 3-in-1. Okay, it's a 3-in-1, and you get this on the info sheet. You just need to eliminate the appropriate variable. Okay, we'll look at examples just now when we go there. Now, we also have the ideal gas equation. Now, what is the ideal gas equation? It is the equation putting everything that we've done up to now together. Okay, remember we said we were busy with pressure, volume, temperature, and number of mole. So all of this is together. If I look at pressure, volume, number of mole, temperature, there's one thing that's left, and this is a constant. This constant is given on the info sheet, so you don't need to memorize it. Okay, so if you look at this, if I have a graph with PV and T, okay, so this is now on my y-axis, this is on my x-axis, then this graph will have a straight line through the origin, and the gradient will be equal to n times r. What is important about this gradient be equal to n times r? If I have 1 mole of gas, the gradient will be equal to r. And this is how they got r in the beginning. They enclosed 1 mole of a gas, and then they made lots of pressure, volume, and temperature measurements across the board. And then when they plotted this graph, they got that the gradient was 8.31, which is then the constant. Okay. All right. So now So I've said enough. It's now time for you guys. You see, you guys to take out your pen and your paper and to work with me. Okay. All right. So you are going to tell me, let us start. Where do we start? A diagram which follows represents a piston in a cylinder. Okay, this is in a car. The piston is able to move up and down. So this piston, this blue, is able to move up and down. Very similar to what I showed you on the app. There I just moved it in and out. Okay, so now it says, assume a gas is trapped in the cylinder at a pressure of, so this is my pressure, okay? This is my pressure, right? When the volume is 100 centimeters cubed, so this is my volume. And the temperature is 35 degrees Celsius. That is my temperature. Okay, those all fit together. What will the pressure be? Okay, so they're asking me for pressure. If a temperature, so this is a second temperature, and the volume is 200. So this is a second volume. So I have two sets, a purple set and a red set. So if I have all of the variables, none of them are constant, then I will go and say for A that P1 V1 over T1 is P2 V2 over T2. So how do I know to use that formula and not this formula? Now the thing is all about this mole. If they have anything that's got mole or mass in the question, then you will use this formula. Okay? Mole or mass in this question, then you will use this formula. If you have got nothing on mole or mass, then you will use this formula. Okay, right, so then we substitute. The purple one's on the left-hand side, so it's 101.3. I'm going to, and then it will be 100 over, and what do I do with the 35 degrees Celsius? Tell me, what do I do with the 35 degrees Celsius? Come. What do I do? What do I do?
Ma'am,
yes, my tell me.
273.
Yes, I add 273. So the temperature will be 273 plus 35. Now you can do it separately or you can do it here. Let your calculator do it. It doesn't matter. Okay. So they're asking me for the second volume. They're giving me this 200 here. And the temperature is 311. So again, in degrees Celsius, I need to add this value. It is extremely important that you do this. Okay, so yes, I'm listening to you.
Ma'am, can I ask why you add 35?
Because the temperature was 35.
Okay, thank you, ma'am.
Can you see it?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And then the other temperature is 311. Okay. So the one is 35 plus 273, and then the other one is 311 plus. Oh, sorry. I see. Oh, sorry. Sorry. I'm slow. I thought you were talking about this one. 273. I'm very sorry. Okay. My mind is thinking one thing and saying the other thing. Okay. Are you happy now? Matego, is it fine now? Okay, sorry. Okay, so then what we do here is you can now decide what you do. I cross multiply and I do the one with the unknown first. So I say 273 plus 35 multiplied by P2 multiplied by 200 is equal to 101.3 multiplied by 100 multiplied by 311 plus 273. Okay. Then I will, you know how to do it. Nee. Multiply, 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 divide, divide, divide. So I will need to divide by this bracket, divide by this bracket, and this will go to the other side. Okay, so 273 plus 35 is 308, multiplied by 200, divided on that side. So now I will get P2 is equal, you need to do this for me. Come, you need to do this for me. You can either type it or unmute and tell me the value. Come, give me a value, give me a value. Come, are you using your calculator? Are you using your calculator? Come, I need an answer. Come. No, yes, thank you, Matseko. Yes, 96.04 kilopascal. Okay. Are you guys okay with that part? Okay. Yes, thank you, both of you. Perfect. Okay. All right. So now we are going to move on. I'm just going to move it down a little bit so I can have more space. Okay. And then this we will remove so I can see. Explain in terms of the kinetic model of gases why the gas in the cylinder exerts a pressure on all the sides of the container. So pressure is, they are the particles collide where the sides therefore exerts pressure. Okay. Right. Are you okay with that? Right. So it says, will the piston move up or down? Sorry, say again.
Could you explain B again, please?
Yes,
okay. I will do B again quickly. Let me just get this one and see this. Okay. So what I do, I'll put some of this in here. And then I will add the collision counter. This collision counter counts the collisions with the sides, the walls. See, wall collisions. It counts the collisions for a certain period. Okay, so it gives me 169 collisions. I'm going to keep the temperature constant. Okay, and then I'm going to decrease the volume, which increases the pressure. Now, see if we count the collisions again. Can you see it's now more collisions? The number of collisions that with the walls of the container, the number of collisions with the walls of the container determines the pressure. If it's half the collisions, the pressure is halved. Okay, so the number of collisions determines the pressure. Okay, is that okay? Must I say it again?
It's fine, man.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Will the piston move up or down if the pressure, if the temperature of the gas is increased? So if we increase the temperature, okay, right. So if we increase the temperature, then the particles will start to move, the kinetic energy will increase. This will increase the collisions. This will then therefore increase the pressure. A higher pressure will then push this piston up. Okay, a higher pressure will push the piston up. Okay, let me show you. If I go here, I keep the pressure constant. Now, if I increase the temperature, can you see what happens? Okay, can you see what happens? It increases the volume. If I increase the pressure, the temperature, the pressure increases and therefore the volume will increase. Okay, are you okay with this part? Okay, I'm not writing all the nice words. You do have the memo, so go use it for all the words. I'm just writing as I'm speaking, shorthand. Okay, if you want me to qualify it more, then you ask, then you just tell me, I will say more. Okay, right. The learner investigates the relationship between the pressure and the volume. Okay, between the pressure and the volume of a given mass at constant temperature. Constant temperature. Now remember, constant temperature, this is a part that we need to know. Okay, all right, let's just go. It says, this is my readings. Fine, give a hypothesis for the investigation. Okay, now your hypothesis will start with either one of your, you don't know which one is the dependent or the independent, but you know, for this one, you can see it. As the pressure increases, the volume, can you see? The pressure increases, then the volume decreases. So here I've got a high pressure and a small volume. Here I've got, sorry, wrong way around. Okay, here I've got a low pressure, right, with a, sorry, I was writing it in the wrong spaces. Low pressure with a large volume. Here I've got the small volume and the high pressure. Okay, in relation to each other. So therefore, the hypothesis will be, as the pressure increases, the volume will decrease at constant temperature. So you literally tell me what's happening here. The pressure is increasing. Then you tell me what's happening here. The volume is decreasing. And then you tell me what stays constant. Are you okay with the hypothesis? Cool.
Yes, ma'am.
Right. Good. So which law is this one? Thank you. Which law is this one? Where I've got P and V. Remember, I can choose between Boyle and Charles and Gay-Lussac. So I'm just going to make a normal one. Boyle has got P is inversely proportional to 1 over V. Charles, yes, that's right, Mateko. Charles is then, V is directly proportional to temperature, and Gay-Lussac law is then pressure is directly proportional to temperature. Okay, so the law that we hear is the Boyle's law. Okay, Boyle's law. Right. State the law in words. I'm not going to state it. Okay. You can read it for yourself. But it basically says the pressure is inversely proportional to the volume. Pressure is inversely proportional, therefore it's 1 over V, at constant temperature. Right, this is just memorizing. Okay. Then it says, give the mathematical relationship. Mathematical relationship. Now, what do they want if they ask for a mathematical relationship? A relationship is not a formula. A relationship is this.
Ma'am?
The relationship says P is inversely proportional to 1 over V. Remember in the previous question, it should have been words. Nee, they say state in words. I don't write words. It's too much pressure. Okay.
Ma'am?
Right. I'm listening to you.
So if it's not at constant velocity, what does that mean?
A constant temperature.
I mean.
If it's not at constant temperature, it can't be Boyle's law.
Oh.
Okay. Then you need to use that universal law, where you can have the volume, the temperature, and the pressure changing. Okay.
Okay.
Boyle's law is only true for constant temperature. Okay. Use the attached graph paper to draw a graph. Now, I'm not going to do the graph. Okay. I'm just quickly going to show you the graph. Okay. Because I don't have the graph paper. So you will plot your points. Make sure that the line that you draw, this line, is a line of best fit. Do not connect the dots. You can actually see that the dots aren't quite on the line. Can you see they are a little bit off center? Can you see? You take the best fit line, your average line. So this is basically an average line. Okay. What you need to make sure is, what do you get marks for? You need to know that you need to name and put units for your graph. You need to make sure that your scale is a fitting scale, appropriate scale on both axes. So that will be 1 mark for both the names and 1 mark for both the scale. Okay. Then you will get 2 marks for plotting. Okay. And then you will get 2 marks for the line of best fit. Sometimes they need you to put a heading. The heading will always be a graph of whatever is on the y-axis of volume versus whatever is on the x-axis, pressure. Okay, righto. So I'm just going back here. We did Boyle's law just now, so I'm just going to move on to the next one so we can do some. If it's a V and T, so this is some of Charles's law. Okay, so it tells us, okay, following graph of hydrogen and nitrogen gas was plotted on the same set of axes during the investigation. Now, let us just look at this. Remember, hydrogen has got small particles. And it's got a very small intermolecular force, namely the London force. Okay. Nitrogen has got, remember, the molar mass is 2 grams per mole for hydrogen gas. Nitrogen has got larger particles, okay, where you can remember the mass is 28 grams per mole. So it's literally 14 times larger, okay. And the forces, the intermolecular forces are stronger because stronger London forces, okay, because of the increase in mass, because of the greater mass, okay. So what is the name of the law that describes this one? So just check back. This is volume and temperature. Volume and temperature gives me Charles's law. Okay. Volume and temperature gives me Charles's law. Okay. Explain the relationship between the pressure and temperature by using the kinetic molecular theory. All right. So again, temperature and pressure. So this is, okay. Temperature and volume. I think this is a typo. This should be volume and temperature. Okay. This should be volume and temperature. Yeah, it should be volume. You can just fix it in your question. Okay, using the kinetic temperature. So now, if let's look at the kinetic theory. First one, it's all about the particles, okay, and temperature. Temperature is a measure of the average kinetic energy. So therefore, if the temperature increases, the particles move faster. Okay. This means that the particles have more collisions. Okay. More collisions at constant pressure. More collisions will then increase the spaces between the particles. Therefore, the volume will increase. So if they move faster, they will push each other further away, having bigger spaces, therefore increasing the volume. Okay. Explain your answer. Okay, which of the gases is represented by the dotted line? So this one is the real gas, and then this will be my ideal gas. So which one will be more likely to have the shape of a real gas? Will it be the hydrogen or will it be the nitrogen? Come, tell me, will it be the hydrogen or will it be the nitrogen? Come. Hydrogen or nitrogen? You can just guess. I won't be angry. Okay. Will it be hydrogen or will it be nitrogen? Come, tell me. Tell me. Yes, Mateko, you are correct. Okay, it will be the nitrogen because remember, we said that an ideal gas has got very small particles, okay, and it has no intermolecular forces. Therefore, the hydrogen is more likely to look like a ideal gas than the nitrogen. Nitrogen will then act like the real gas, and this one will act like the ideal gas, if that makes sense. Okay. Noah, Sarah, we're still busy with graphs, with gases, so the rest will only start at 2, né? So enjoy. Okay. What can be concluded from the graph when studying the volume of the two gases at moderate temperatures? So remember, moderate temperatures will be in this area. Moderate temperatures will be this area. So what can be concluded? It can be concluded that it is directly proportional. Okay. And then it says, well, they have the same, therefore, they have the same volume at the same temperature. Okay. Yes, I'm listening to you.
When explaining the kinetic molecular theory between volume and temperature, could you also mention there that temperature is directly proportional to volume? Or is it not necessary?
No, it's not necessary. Okay. Because what you do is you will use the directly proportional stuff is not part of the kinetic molecular theory. Okay. All right. That the only things that's there is it consists of particles. There are spaces between the particles. They move and collide. They exert forces on each other during collisions, and that the average kinetic energy is the temperature. You remember we started off with that. Okay.
Okay,
all
thank
right.
you, ma'am.
Okay. Okay, and then the law in question E is then the same. It's at the moment. That's Charles's law. Okay. All right. So, right. We still have enough time. So this one is pressure and temperature. Okay. Pressure and temperature. It says explain. Okay. Temperature is the average kinetic energy of the particles. Right, that's the definition there. Temperature and pressure of an enclosed gas. If they tell you enclosed gas, they're literally telling you that the mole and the mass stays constant. Okay, so that's what they're doing. They're telling you that the mole and the mass stay constant. So state Gay-Lussac's law, and you can do that. I'm not going to do any definitions. Use the law to determine the value of the temperature X as shown in the graph. So this is the law that says P1 over T1 is equal to P2 over T2. So these are my first values. So 100 over 298 is equal to 150 over T2. Okay, so cross multiplication, doing the unknown first, gives me that 100 T2 is equal to 150 times 298. Divide by 100 on both sides. Then we get that T2 is equal to what? T2 is equal to what? Tell me. Okay.
Ma'am, why don't we add 273 to 150?
Because it is, the 150 is in kilopascals. Okay. I substituted this. What did I do wrong? Yeah, we need T2. That's fine. We need T2. Okay. All right. So this is then divided by what, 100? Okay. And we get 447. But now, let me explain. I know now what you don't know. Okay. The 150 is pressure. We don't add 273 to pressure. We only add the 273 to a temperature in degrees Celsius. Now this temperature is in Kelvin, so we keep it 298. It's already added. But they're asking for our question, our answer in degrees Celsius. So this will then be 447 minus 273. Okay, it will be 447 minus 273 will be 174 degrees Celsius. Are you guys okay with this question? It's a little bit more intricate.
Ma'am, could you re-explain where you got T2 from? Like from 447. Could you re-explain it, please?
Re-explain the 447. Where did I get this?
Like where you got T2 from.
Okay, so let me start all over again from here. I'm not going to erase all of that. Let me start over. So in here, this is my P1 and this is my T1. Okay, so P1 is 100 and T1 is 298. They're asking us for X, which is T2. So this is my P2, which is 150. Then T2, you can put an X or you can put T2. It doesn't really matter. Okay. So now if I cross multiply, I get that 100 times T2 is equal to 298 times 150. Are you still with me up to this point, Mateko?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Yes,
then in order to get T2, I need to divide by 100. And if I divide by 100, I get this. If I calculate this part, if I calculate this part, I get the 447.
Okay, ma'am, but
okay.
Then why? Can you explain like why you minus 273?
Okay, so this they told me is in Kelvin, but they're asking the question to get the answer in degrees Celsius. Now, in order to convert from Kelvin to degrees Celsius, I need to minus this 273.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. I understand now.
Okay. Are you okay now?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Good. Then it says, why does, let me just erase all this nonsense because now I've scratched all over. Okay. Now they're asking us, explain using formula why graph Q has a smaller gradient than graph P. Okay. Now, if you look at this, this is pressure and this is temperature. Okay. So now let me go. I just need a little bit more space. Let me go this way. If I go to this formula, PV is equal to nRT. Okay. Then pressure is on my y-axis. I want pressure alone on my y-axis. This means that I get nRT divided by volume. Okay, I just divided. Now, temperature is on my x-axis. If I now look at this, it is in the form of y is equal to mx plus c for a straight line graph. Because t is on the x-axis, p is on the y-axis. Therefore, for this graph, the gradient is equal to nr over v. Okay, so it says using y graph Q has a smaller gradient than graph R. Okay, so it will have a smaller gradient. Okay, so it means, literally means, okay, let me just go back here. It says two identical containers of fixed volumes. So they told me that the two volumes are the same. So if the gradient, I'm just going to erase this. So I've got space. Okay, writing it here. The gradient is equal to NR over V. Now the V can't change because it's a fixed volume. The R can't change because it's a constant. Therefore, if I have a smaller gradient, it means that my number of mole, my mole had to decrease. So Q has less mole or less mass, depending on which one you choose, than P. Are you okay with this? This is a difficult question. Matseko, are you okay with that one?
Ma'am, sorry, but can you re-explain it? Like
yes,
from
I can.
The equation.
I will. Okay. Are you up? Are you fine up to this point? Where must I start?
From the gradient equation. Please.
From the gradient equation. From here. Okay. So this is my formula. You know this formula. So what I did is I reshuffled this formula until I had whatever is on the y-axis in space of y. Whatever is on the x-axis in the space of x. Since it's going through the origin, C is 0. Therefore, whatever is before the temperature must be part of the gradient. Now, if this is my gradient, I need to check why the one has a greater gradient than the other one. So, since R is a constant for both of these, R is equal to 8,31. R is equal to 8,31. So it can't be R that changed the gradient. They have got the same R. Okay. It can't be the volume because let's say the volume is V, let's say the volume is whatever. Let's make it an A, that the volume is equal to A. So for this one, the volume is A, and for this one, the volume is A. So it can't be the volume that caused the change in the gradient. The only thing that caused the change in the gradient is that the number of mole was different. That's the only possibility. Now, to have a smaller gradient, I must have less mole. Therefore, Q must have less mole and less mass. Are you okay with that part?
Yes, ma'am. So whenever they say smaller gradient, you know that you have to use that formula.
Yes.
So
okay.
It doesn't depend, like say now, because I didn't, ma'am, know it was an ideal gas.
Because it is going through the origin. If it wasn't an ideal gas, it would have shaped like this. It wouldn't have gone through the origin.
Thank you, ma'am.